When we're graphing lines, it's easiest if the equation is in slope-intercept form. So I have y equals negative 2x plus 4 here. And I remember that my slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b. And I also remember that m is the slope, which is the same thing as the rise divided by the run, and the b is called the y-intercept. This is the place where your graph will cross this vertical axis, the y-axis. This one is the y-axis, and this one is the x-axis. And so where our graph crosses the y-axis, or where the line crosses the y-axis, is called the y-intercept. So in this equation, we've replaced, instead of an m, we can see that there is a negative 2. That means the negative 2 is the slope. And the b has been removed, and in its place we put a plus 4. So that means the y-intercept is the 4. All right, we're going to start at the y-intercept in this case. We know that this ordered pair is at 0, 4. So if it's on the y-axis, it has a 0 for the x because it doesn't go anywhere on the x-axis from the 0. And then it goes up or down. These are positive y values, and these down here are negative y values. So we want to be at positive 4. So we're going to go up to positive 4. And we're just going to put a dot or an ordered pair point on our y-axis at positive 4 because our line equation says that we have a y-intercept of positive 4. Okay, so we have 1 point, but in order to make a line, we need to have 2 points. So we use the slope to find another point on our line. Our slope, we said, is negative 2. But we need the slope to be in a rise over run format, so we need a fraction. And this doesn't look like a fraction yet. We remember, though, that I can turn any number into a fraction by putting a 1 in the denominator. So negative 2 divided by 1 is the same thing as just negative 2. So I can do negative 2 over 1 and have that look like rise divided by the run. So I'm going to start at my original point. And because my rise is negative 2, that means I'm going to go 2 down because it's negative. So I want to go towards the negative numbers. And then the run is positive, so I'm going to go to the right. The rise tells you where to go on the y-axis, and then the run tells you where to go right or left on the x-axis. Okay, so I'm going to go down 2 because my rise is negative 2. And then I'm going to go to the right 1. And I'm going to put a point right there. Okay, so now I have 2 points. And I can connect the dots right now and be finished if I want. If I want to make more points, all I have to do is continue to go down 2 over 1. And I can do that as many times as I want. I should still get a point that's on the line. And I connect my dots. I put arrows at the end because lines always keep going forever. So the arrows mean that they're not going to stop. They're going to keep going this way and this way forever. And then I'm finished with graphing this line. Okay, the other one is a little bit more difficult because we notice that the equation does not say y equals. Okay, so if the equation does not say y equals, we can solve for y or get the y by itself, or we can find the x and the y-intercepts. Let's go ahead and solve for y. So here's our y. If we want the y alone, we need to move this negative 1/2 x. Remember that to move something across an equal sign, we have to do the opposite. So because this is a negative, we're going to add 1/2 x. We want to move the whole thing. So when we want to move the whole thing, we add or subtract. So this is plus 1/2 x. Okay, so now we have y equals, which is what we want in our slope-intercept form equation. Then we want the x term because it says mx, so we're going to put 1/2 x. And then we want the constant, which is the y-intercept. Okay, so we can see now that it's in the right format. This is slope-intercept form. All we had to do was move the x to the other side so that the y would be alone. And now we can tell that the slope is 1/2 and our y-intercept is -1. So we notice that this equation had a negative slope. That means it decreased from left to right. It went down from left to right. We read a graph from left to right always. So this one went down from left to right. This one though is a positive slope, so it should go up from left to right. Okay, but let's start at our y-intercept. It's at -1, so I'm going to put a point at -1 on the y-axis because it's a y-intercept. And then I'm going to use the slope. I'm going to go up 1, to the right 2, because up, this is positive, so I'm going to go up, and then the bottom is positive also, so I'm going to go right. So I'm going to go up 1 over 2, and I'm going to put another dot. And I'm going to connect my dots and put arrows at the end, and my line is finished. We notice, like I said, we have a positive slope and my line does increase from left to right, so I'm probably correct. My y-intercept is negative, which is what it should be. So I've graphed my line and it's finished. We can also notice that, remember, slope tells the steepness of a line. So because this one is a 2, it is steeper than this one, which is a 1/2. 1/2 will be flatter than the 2 slope. 2 is bigger, so it's steeper. It's different directions also because one is positive and one is negative.